Hey everyone, today we're going to be going to look at Beaver Lake. It's been about a month since we visited last. Now the trees are completely full. Today is July 1st, 2022. All the water around here is running pretty low, but I think the beavers will have their pond pretty high. Oh, little tree here dying. Today's a nice, damp, rainy day. Yep, they definitely have built back a bit, but they're nowhere near capacity. You see how high this thing once was? You can even see debris way up there from when it flooded these banks too. Yes, they've definitely built something. Not much though. It's barely holding anything back, but we're gonna go ahead and remove that. I think when we first came here and this whole thing was acting as a beaver dam, I think that's only because it literally hadn't been maintained in years. I've been coming here for maybe 10 years or so, and ever since I was a little kid too. And this place has always had an issue here with beavers. This dam has always been deteriorating. The reason the dam is deteriorating is because when this thing was over capacity, like up to the top of this instead of at the bottom of the spillway, in the wintertime, up here, we can get a month solid of negative 30-degree nights. And that freezes thick, and ice expands as it freezes. So it expanded into the dam, smashing it. And now it's a failing dam. And there's no plans yet on fixing it. We're gonna go ahead and quickly remove this. And then I think instead of visiting this like we've been doing every month, I think we're gonna wait like 3 months because these beavers aren't really building at a rate of speed that we have to keep checking on it. I do see some current coming in over there. That's one of the locations that the pond is filling from. And a fish in the water just splashed. All right, everybody, I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a different view at this location instead of the typical overhead view. These beavers didn't have this dam anchored well at all. That was one of the easiest I've ever done. And look right here how strong the current is. Look at that rock. Oh, it's having trouble. Oh, there it goes. Nope. It caught itself. But that should just show the current is pretty strong. The beavers didn't anchor it very well. That was literally the quickest unclogging we've ever done here. Wasn't anchored very well by the beavers. To be honest, most of that looks like it's just sludge that naturally floated over and helped the beavers. Beavers didn't look like they were really into it this time. Here's one big piece I fished out and threw. Throw it over here so the beavers don't use it again. Looking good, a lot more flow than before. See all the crampon marks? It's from hikers in the winter time with their ice cleats, crampons, whatever you want to call them. This board here, look at this. Look how much this one sways. If I weighed like twice as much, I could probably break that just by walking on it. I could probably break it now if I jumped on it. That bridge is getting old. Now, for this situation here, I do blame the beavers for the destruction of this dam, because them plugging it makes it over capacity. It's holding more than it was designed to handle. On top of that, it's much higher than designed in the winter, so it doesn't have the strength to hold back all that ice. On the other hand, this dam is very old, and I'm sure it did have some structural defects just because of its age. The beavers are kind of actually turning this into a natural dam, which is pretty cool. Honestly, this is much more cooler to me walking across this than it is walking across this concrete. Maybe they should just fix the spillway, make sure nothing erodes here, and encourage the beavers to build this, or just turn it into more of a natural dam. Because right here, you can't even see that this is concrete. Not really. See, you can tell here, concrete's holding all those rocks together. But from far away, you can't tell that this used to look like that. This used to look like a sidewalk just 10 years ago. Every winter, it just crumbles more and more. Look at these pieces. If I jumped right here, I'd probably chip off a big amount. Just by looking around at this, I don't see any reason why this would fail now, unless it's allowed to increase that 2 feet again. That would put enormous pressure on this, and it is very possible water could find a way through, weakening it and eventually totally failing. Well, the beavers are actually starting to prevent that, because if they were to build this higher, the beavers would start reinforcing all this stuff here as they go. And beavers are smart enough, they know the higher they build, the wider they gotta be. Beavers are awesome creatures. Beavers are very beneficial creatures to the environment. What they do is, they will dam streams, rivers, creeks, even drainage ditches. What they do is they back up the water. They're naturally, by instinct, attracted to running water. When they hear running water, it drives them nuts. It attracts them over. They will start damming it up. And when they dam it back, they can hold back hundreds of thousands or even tens of millions of gallons of water, depending on how big and old the pond is, depending on the landscape. If they already have a good valley going, they only have to create one side of the pond as a dam. The rest will naturally fill in. In exchange, by creating a pond, you are raising the water table in the general area, helping trees, any plants nearby. Aquatic life is going to start flourishing there. Now, at the same time, when they flood it, any trees that were once on land that are in the water will drown. They will die. But that's a good sacrifice in my eyes, because once those trees die and start falling over, that becomes more dam building material. The majority of those trees will never naturally fall over. Once the water is up and around them all, it's all flooded, beavers can comfortably cut them down while underwater and away from predators. It works out very nicely for the beavers. Now, a pond like that, it weighs a lot. A beaver pond, all that weight, it's pushing down. It's actually forcing water down into the underground aqueducts, increasing groundwater even further away from it. You know, this is the first time I've ever showed you guys this trail going around the whole thing. I've been around this thing probably a dozen times or so in my lifetime. I'm going to show you a little bit more of this beaver pond. Look right there. There's one of their lodges. You can tell that's very fresh material, very recent build. In my eyes, I really do, I keep calling this a pond by accident. It is technically a lake on Google Maps. Now the difference between a pond and a lake, typically a lake is too deep for sunlight to reach the bottom. The bottom will be dark or dim, so different kinds of things will live down there. Now that we're up at higher terrain and I'm looking around, I don't typically see any really deep parts of the pond. It doesn't seem deep, at least. But that's not always the reason why it would be called a lake. There are some other differences. All right, we just went down a trail right here that brings us right down to the water. It's actually a nice sandy beach. Oh, I just had a frog hop in. This is a very beautiful place. Look at how shallow and sandy the water is. I can walk out here quite a ways without flooding my boots. Yep. Water's pretty warm, baking in the sun. Crystal clear water. It's nice. Over here is our dam we just unclogged back in that corner. You see that little island of lily pads? Over here, there's a few other small islands of lily pads. That's telling me this pond is not very deep in the places that I can't access. And because those lily pads are anchored down to the bottom, this would not be considered a lake for depth reasons. I'm going for a little stroll right here along the edge. Oh, it's getting a little muddy here, not as sandy. I'm gonna meet back up with the trail right around there. I am seeing a lot of fish flopping out of the water. This place got some good wildlife. The fish that are here were probably born here and they didn't come here. They can't really, well, they can leave, but they can't come back because of the dam. It's a one-way situation. Whoa, this is getting very muddy. It's no longer a nice sandy beach. I think I'm gonna use one of these animal/people trails to get back up. This is likely a beaver trail going up to get materials. All these little trails are likely beaver trails. Well, coming back up this beaver trail, look at this moss with little pine trees mixed in. It's so soft, and it's been pretty dry out. Once this stuff starts growing a little more, it's gonna be way softer. As you guys can tell, this trail is moderately used. The little sign telling people not to go across that dam because it's failing, it's not working. A lot of people are coming around anyways. Oh, look at this tree. That's been like that a while. That hasn't recently snapped. It's pretty dangerous to be walking underneath during the next windstorm. Wow, look at this. Beaver's efforts to get a lot of building material. They're working on getting this tree to fall over. Wow, they're like more than half of the way through, and there's a lot of rot in there. So I think they got a pretty good chance of taking down this massive 2-foot plus thick tree. That'll fall right down with at least some of the branches in the water for them to use on their dam. I never really understood why the majority of people don't like to go hiking on a damp, dreary day like this. It's nice and cool, and yeah, when you're hiking, I get hot, at least. I love hiking mountains. Usually if it's hot out and I want to go on a hike, I'll go on one that's a pretty high elevation, above 4,000 feet. Then at least when you get up there, it's usually foggy and really cool. I just don't understand how some people can actually go hiking when it's really hot and humid out. What I've just come across here is something very awesome. Not awesome for the train company, but scenery-wise to look at, I mean. This is a gigantic landslide about 7 years back that happened. I remember this trail used to be really nice, shady, and wooded. But there's train tracks up here. The entire hill just let go. Train tracks came down here, all their ballast, all the trees came with it. And do you know where all the trees went? Over here. This whole landslide went right into the beaver pond. And look at the amount of trees that are in the beaver pond. Lots of dam building material. And imagine being those beavers. This must have made a massive tidal wave across this entire lake. It must have smacked that dam over there so hard with a wave. It must have flooded their lodge really quickly. Water levels around here must have risen by at least a foot or so. It must have created such a blast. That would have been so awesome to see. Because just take a look at, I am sinking really fast. I went right here from standing on about 5 inches to there, way down. So just look at these balls of roots. These trees were all the way up there or here on the bank. Because you see where the bank used to be? Now we got land going way out here. A couple of these trees actually stayed rooted for the ride, but they still died because probably a lot of the roots were broken off. Take a look at this iron oxidizing bacteria in this small trickle of water. And there's a big bullfrog out here barking. Let's see if we can find that dude. Somewhere here does. Oh, there he is. There's two of them. The one on camera is not the one you just heard croak. This mud is very slippery. It's like the stuff you would get stuck in. I'm making my way out here onto this platform of dead trees. All right, this is holding me. This is strong. Beavers are going to be angry because they built a lodge in the middle of all this stuff. You see, during the landslide, it pushed these balls of roots way out here. It literally created a peninsula in the lake. Look at this pine tree. This pine tree went for the ride. You see how its trunk is crooked, but it straightened itself out, and it's so green, it looks like it's doing great. But this is a beaver lodge right here. Remember we saw a newer constructed one over there? So that confirms there's at least 3 lodges. Oh, there's a 4th I see on this lake. So right here, this is a lodge. Beavers might be down here right now. And they might be angry. The majority of beavers won't mess with you. I was bluff charged by a beaver only one time. The rest of them typically will splash their tail as a threat, or they'll just be on their way. They're usually nice creatures. There's actually only one reported death ever by a beaver, and that's because their teeth are just huge. If they bite you, they're gonna damage you. And there's literally only a couple attacks a year. It's less likely. Look at the attack amounts of other animals. Highly unlikely. They're herbivores. They want nothing to do with you. When it's a bigger lake like this, chances are if you disturb them, or even if I got down and walked on this lodge, chances are they're just going to be out of that lodge and on their way. But if it was a pond that was maybe 1/10 of the size, tiny, they tend to be more territorial. Wait, is that a 5th lodge? Yes, it is. So we saw the one earlier. There's a 2nd. Here's a 3rd. There's a 4th. And there's a 5th. That 5th one might be abandoned right below that giant duck house on the tree. And look what we have over here. Another beaver dam. So I guess the beavers are starting to get used to, hey, we can't build underneath that little bridge anymore. It's just going to keep getting unclogged. So we're going to go look at their brand new construction over there and see what they're working on. That's a good thing. They're working on a pond that won't interfere with the dam. Wow, look at this angle way out here. You can see how big the landslide really was. Now let me try to get out of here without sinking in the mud. Oop, good. I stepped somewhere solid. And we got moose tracks. Moose have been hanging out down here. All right, we'll find a better way over to that. Look at the trickling water here. No wonder the landslide happened here. It's been pretty dry out lately, except for the rain today. This hill's waterlogged. Hopefully they pack that tight with stuff that's not gonna move. Continuing down the trail, we'll go visit that beaver pond. That's pretty cool along the trail. Got water trickling through this tiny little well. Water out here in the mountains is very pure. You can drink things like that usually. I'm not gonna take the risk because yes, there is bacteria in there that can really hurt you. But when I'm out in the wilderness, I bring a bunch of gallons of water, but just in case I somehow got my vehicle stuck in a remote place for weeks, I have one of those filtering water pumps. You can literally pump cloudy, dirty water and it makes it clear. All right, this part of the trail is starting to ease away from the actual beaver pond. But here's their new beaver pond. See what I was talking about? There's the dam and this new level of water, which is about 3 feet higher than the other pond or lake. We're trying to find a way down there right now. All right, we're gonna have to do a little bit of bushwhacking. Look at this, another tiny little beaver pond way up here. I'm walking right here because this is a animal trail. They've already made a little trail going in the general direction I want to go to. Yeah, look at this. This is a beaver dam. Look how small this pond is. It's so cute. They don't live here. It's just water storage. They are the controllers of nature's reservoirs. By having that tiny little pond way up here at the top of the hill, they're literally keeping the water table high in the hill so this forest stays healthy. We're making our way. This hill, as you can see, is pretty muddy. See how water's trickling out of the hill? Water table's very high as a result of that little pond. Whoa, look how far I'm sinking in this slop. Some deep slop. Whoop. All right, we're approaching. Look at all the building material here in close proximity. Look at these piles of sticks. I wouldn't be surprised if they were trying to build a giant dam out here. Or, see how it's hollowed out? This might be like an underground dam. Beavers do excavate, believe it or not. They will create little channels. They'll dig little canals and stuff through the woods, and that's how they can safely get through the woods without predators finding them. Yes, I do believe this is a underground lodge. Look at this. See this underground tunnels the beavers have made? See how they excavate all these little channels? They're good excavators. Look at that giant hole. That's the rear exit of this dam. You could tell there's fresh sticks. They're still using it despite the water being way down. Want to be careful here not to make beavers angry. Yeah, look at this. They made this little island. See how they, you can literally see how they channeled that out. That's a big lodge, but most of the exits are exposed. It actually looks like they probably blocked those entrances on the inside because I see they kind of made like a long tunnel going down into the water so they could still use the dam without being seen by predators. Now I know I can't come down here. That mud, I would sink so deep. But here's their new dam. They're making a newer pond up here. I can tell by that dam. It's been there at least 5 years by the little bushes and stuff growing on it. The middle of it looks fresher, like it could have got pushed out. But this is actually incredible. I've never seen beavers do this before in real life. They excavated tunnels underground going to a lodge that's literally 30 feet or 40 feet away from the pond. And here's even more of it. This is an underground tunnel system going into, this is a lodge right here you're seeing. It may not be active, it doesn't look very active, but here's one tunnel entering the water, another tunnel entering the water, and you see they excavated out all this soil here so they can make the pond bigger. That looks like it used to be a beaver lodge, definitely not anymore. It looks like it's collapsing and rotting. But you see there's another channel they made coming out. See some moose tracks in this mud. This might have been actually another lodge right here. That big one is still definitely active. Gotta be careful where I walk. If these are not active, that means they're rotting underground, creating traps I could fall into. Yeah, check out all the places they excavated. There's a tunnel there going underground. Yep, when that dam over there was at capacity, where you see all this beach, when this thing was fully at the beaver's capacity, it would have been filling all those. It's good to see the beavers are creating a new pond further up that won't interfere with that dam. I don't think that situation ever should have got that bad. They definitely should have brought in a beaver deceiver unit, or they should have put some kind of grading up so the beavers wouldn't be able to clog it up that fast. But here's the sad thing. They're not clogging it up that fast. You see, I haven't been here in a month, and that clog was barely anything. The first time I unclogged it, it was big because that was years in the making. If the state would send out a park ranger or somebody every week or every other week to do that, there wouldn't be a problem. Hey, look, there is a human-made trail. I didn't realize it. Here's that little pond I showed you. Remember, I walked through bushwhacking on the lower side. Moose track. Look at that, the water's crystal clear in this little pond. On camera, it might just look dark. That's because it's just the angle. Beavers are doing well. Look at this on the trail. Got a bunch of slugs eating a poop. Pretty cool. And now the trail is moving away from the big beaver lake. But you see, there's another tiny pond in here. Maybe not created by the beavers, but look over on this side. There's a much bigger pond over here. Let's go look at that. There's definitely sort of a trail here going over to it. Yeah, what I was talking about, they could bring a beaver deceiver in. They could have a couple guys carry that down the trail, since there's like no access for vehicles because they haven't maintained the access road in years. Yes, this is a beaver pond. Can you see? No, you can't with the sun, but this is crystal clear. The middle's about 4 feet deep. And that is a giant beaver dam. And check it out. There's giant trees growing on it. That beaver dam is probably a decade older. It's beautiful. Covered in moss. So these beavers are really helping this forest sustain water. And that may have been the last exciting part of this video. Mosquito. The mosquitoes are really starting to attack me. The first half an hour of being out here, they were completely leaving me alone. But now, they're after me. And I'm on my way out of here. Hope today's video was interesting. Thanks for watching and have a great day. here's that little river from the beginning of the video. You saw me going across that bridge. Well, here's another bridge. This one doesn't have railings, which I guess is a good thing. It's easier to save the bridge, I guess, if it gets washed out. So this is that flattened out access road I was talking about that's leading to the dam. The trail is right here that goes around the entire thing. And they have a little barricade there to keep you on the trail. There's nothing saying not to use the access road, but this is the access road here. It's still flattened out very nicely. All they would have to do is trimming, and they could easily get work trucks and cement trucks in there to rebuild that dam. The culverts are all fully functional still on this little access road. The only issue is the pedestrian bridge that's down there would have to be replaced with a temporary bridge like loggers use. I-beams and timbers, or just timbers that are really thick, would work perfectly. Opening this thing back up, it could literally be done in one day with bush trimming equipment on the end of an excavator. Now up here at the end of this access road, you're going to see a large I-beam, which I believe is one of the two I-beams that could have been used to support a wooden deck on the old access bridge whenever that may have been demolished. It's definitely been out of service decades. It's never been here as long as I've been coming out here. Here we are. Here's the I-beam I was talking about. And here's where the trail meets right back up. The trail literally leaves, goes parallel, and right back. I don't understand why they separated it from this, but here it is. Oh, there are actually two of them, so these two beams very well may have been for the old bridge with timbers and railings across the top. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.